Welcome to Philly Net Tuesday. My name is Seth Horowitz, and welcome today. We're going to be talking about social presentations, which is a phrase we kind of made up because I don't know that we saw that elsewhere. But in order to sort of set the scene, I'm going to start with a bad presentation because this has no social features. It hasn't been changed in months, except for some updates. But I am presenting it because some people aren't familiar with Net Tuesday, and we just want to get off on a common footing. How many people are here for the first time? Okay, great. So this will be somewhat informative for some people and whatever, but it will be an illustration of a presentation that is not like the other ones you'll see later in the session. So there are net squared organizations or chapters, a little too strong a word. They're net squared associations around the world with a loose affiliation with TechSoup Global, the nonprofit technology provider and service agency that's based out of San Francisco. And they all do some aspect of serving nonprofits and social change folks in one aspect or another. The theme that we tend to resonate with is using the social web for social change. And so we try and create presentations and events that folks who are interested in helping to make the world a better place can actually learn something about using social tools in order to help them do that. The main way in which we strive to achieve this is through these Net Tuesdays, which are on the first Tuesday of every month. They've been here for the last couple of years, and we've been doing it now for about 5 years. We also have a website that you can check out, and a Google group, a listserv that people use to make announcements, ask questions, get advice, and stuff like that. You can, if you're not already on the listserv, you can indicate that on the sign-in sheet. Looking back at the last year of events, you can see some of the topics that we've covered. I won't go through them all right now, but I do want to highlight that some of them are a recurring theme, a recurring format that we use called crowdsourcing change, which is when we bring in usually 3 local nonprofits, have them show something about their web and their social strategy, and then get feedback and advice and some sort of reactions from the crowd, which is the people who show up. So we're trying to do this now on a quarterly basis. And so, as you can see, June last month was social audio. This month is social presentations. And next month we'll be doing another crowdsourcing change. So that'll be on August 6th. If you or some organization you know of might be interested in being one of the subject organizations of that event, you can fill in an application at that URL there, which is also on the back of your tag. We will be having a planning conference call next week. It will last no longer than an hour. It's usually shorter. If anybody's interested in that, please let me know. I'll give you the access instructions. And there's some dates of the future Net Tuesdays there. I also want to mention that tomorrow, right here in this room, the Envision Peace Museum is going to be screening How to Start a Revolution, a 2011 film that features Gene Sharp, who's been considered the greatest expert on nonviolent revolution, and a lot of his thinking and stuff has been inspiring what's happening right now in Turkey and Syria and Egypt. So it'll be a panel and film discussion, and if that's of interest to you, it'll be right here. I think there's a $5 suggested donation for that. In addition to what's happening in the room, we are streaming this live on the internet to the big wide world, and we think we have at least one person who's watching. We might have more. They're seeing it through this camera here. This is also being recorded, and the recording will be made available on our YouTube channel a few days after tonight. As I said, it is being recorded. We have 2 high-resolution cameras, but only one is working. So that's the only camera that's working, and this one, which looks like it's looking at you, isn't really. It's blind. We're also supporting a Twitter back channel, which either from within this room or from out there in cyberspace, if you're on Twitter and use the hashtag PHLNET2, then it'll come up on the Twitter stream. And Andrew Sather back there, with a hand raised, is monitoring the Twitter stream for us and responding to people. and will voice into the room questions or comments that might be expressed by people who are not in the room. In addition to the events themselves, we're really about networking. So please leave a business card that's back there, or we have some blanks if you feel like you don't have a business card or you want to create a new identity for yourself. Please fill in the sign-in sheet and make it legible. And what we'll do is we'll actually take the contact information from the sign-in sheet, send it back out just to the people in this room, and the same thing with the business cards. We'll scan those and send them back out to the people in this room a couple days, again, in a few days when we'll process that. Most people are wearing, and you're encouraged to wear a tag, in which you can tag yourself with not only your name, but something that can act as a conversation starter, and you can look at people's tags and start a conversation so that there's some way of actually connecting with people, which is really what we're all about. And we have a strict no questions too stupid policy. A little bit of housekeeping. We have food over there. We don't want to leave anything left, so please eat it all. This building, the Friends Center, is a Platinum LEED certified building. We do composting whenever possible. All of the plates and the cups and the forks are all made from corn and are compostable. All the food is compostable, even the meats and cheeses. So basically just the plastic wraps around the hoagies there are the things that really can't be composted. So try and abide by that. There are bathrooms outside in the hallway right past the elevators on your right. Excuse me. We have Wi-Fi access in the room. You can use the Friends Guest network if that's what you want to do. As I mentioned, we are video recording this. The video-free area is where you're all sitting, so don't worry about that. And we will be passing on a microphone, and I encourage you to use the microphone, not so much so you can be heard within the room, but so that you can be picked up by the recording and the internet stream. If you parked in the parking lot across 15th Street, at the front desk, they'll validate your card and you can get a discount on the parking. And anybody who's interested is invited to come out for a drink or a bite afterwards with whoever else is interested in doing so and continue the conversation in a more informal way. So that's about it as far as how things work around here. Our sponsor tonight is the American Friends Service Committee, an international peace and justice organization, which is one of the tenants here of the Friends Center. And we appreciate them being able to sponsor this. And that's essentially all we have to go over with that lacking presentation. What I'd like to do at this point is invite people to introduce themselves. Using the talking stick here. So as I mentioned, my name is Seth Horowitz. I'd like you to introduce yourself. Mention if you want who you're from, where you're from, if you have some affiliation you want to mention. And if you have any experience or thoughts about the topic tonight, social presentations, if you've used some of these services or other services which help to share your presentations in a social way, or had experiences, good or bad, let us know and let our panelists also understand kind of who's in the room in that regard. So as says, my name is Seth Horowitz. I work here with the American Friends Service Committee. I'm working on information architecture, and my experience with this stuff is very minimal, and I went to great lengths to show you that. So I want to learn more about these sorts of features as we go forward.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Sharp. I'm a freelance community development writer for the nonprofit news website generosity.org. And unfortunately, I'm not well enough evolved to go past PowerPoint, so sorry.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Stevens and I work with OPEX Corporation. So basically I give a lot of presentations, mostly PowerPoint, and so I'm just here to learn about Prezi and some of the other ways to give presentations.
Hi, Mitch Collier. I'm involved with health and science communications projects for federal government agencies, and this is all new.
Joe Rosato. I have my own information technology company and also my own theater group. And as for using these, I sort of have to agree with everyone else, probably mostly just the PowerPoint.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Smith-Brown from Institute for Safe Families, and I have done PowerPoints, not necessarily exciting ones. I've seen Prezi presentations recently and SlideShare. I'm interested in seeing how I can watch a presentation and get it to transition over to the internet when slides are posted later for people to refer to. So I'm hoping to get some insight from that today.
I'm Chesia Kelly from the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and I have some good past experience with programs like Prezi that I think have so many awesome possibilities, and I don't know about any of the other ones, so looking to learn.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Hernandez. I work here with the in this building with the American Friends Service Committee. I don't number of PowerPoints. I don't like bullet points. And I think that people are smart, and that I don't like the concept of dumbing down, material in presentations.
Hi, I'm Donna Miller. I work for St. George's, which has got perhaps the smallest museum in Philadelphia, but thanks to the Mutter Museum, not the oddest. I have come from before a long history of marketing with PowerPoints, and I'm really looking forward to learning something new.
I am Rick Wolf, freelance graphic designer in the Philly area from New York for about a year and a half now. I'm surprised how little I've managed to dodge presentations, especially the apps and that sort of business. But I'd like to start to explore that middle ground between the presentation zen ideal and what a client would do, let alone with the app by himself, and looking at the real world reality between them.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Vaughn. I have a background in technology, instructional design, and marketing, and just looking to get more involved in social presentations from Prezi and the SlideShare perspective. I've been taking some classes recently, and the way they have been saving them and presenting them is online and not using PowerPoint. So looking just to expand my knowledge base.
Hi, my name is Abdussalam Uwakil. I do business and community development with two nonprofits, New Africa Center and Investing in Ourselves. I'm pretty good with PowerPoint, and I'd like to learn how to use these other social presentations.
Hi, I'm Tim Siftar. I'm a librarian at Drexel for the School of Education and the College of Information Science and Technology. And I do some PowerPoint, mostly for trainings with students. And I use some of these. We just site licensed VoiceThread, which is a fun thing that's kind of like social PowerPoint everybody contributes to on the web. And I was I'm real keen on audience response systems. So polling everyone is that what it's called? Poll Everywhere? I forget what it's called. But where everybody can put their responses up on the screen as you're talking, and that's, I guess, not what we're going to do tonight, but I'll learn more about these systems. That's great. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Kathy Quinn, and my real job is working for a language services company in Philadelphia. And my other job is, so if you need anything translated, just let me know. But my other thing is also being a volunteer for the American Association of University Women at the state and local level. And for both jobs, I'd like to get beyond PowerPoint. I've done a good bit with PowerPoint. I've gone as far as posting something on SlideShare, and I haven't worked with any of the other things, so I'd like to get as many ideas as possible to make the presentations more interesting.
My name is Louise Salinas, and I work for another Quaker organization in this center called the Friends World Committee for Consultation section of the Americas. We are bilingual, but we're the association of all the Quaker congregations, which we call meetings or churches in North, South, and Central America. And like a lot of people, I want to get beyond PowerPoint.
Hi, I'm Brian Crenshaw, and I work with the Philadelphia Sierra Club as a volunteer activist, and we have a lecture series monthly, and I'm fascinated about the possibility of using Presto to capture that and put that onto YouTube. So I'll hear more about that.
My name is Mike Lamont. I work on emerging technology. I preferred Harvard graphics to PowerPoint. but like anything, nothing lasts forever. Currently, I don't know if you know, but if you go to YouTube and you get 1,000 people to follow your channel, you can go live. I watched the broadcast from the Texas Senate last week on the filibuster, and it was kind of cool because I fell asleep at midnight here, 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock their time, but there were over 100,000 viewers, and we watched it scale from 10 or it was like started at 1,000 and then just started building. I mean, it was amazing. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on out there. SlideShare is good. I use that all the time, and I'm currently working on a product called Collaborate, which allows you to do presentations and video simultaneously.
Hi, I'm Faye Anderson with All That Philly Jazz. I use SlideShare a lot. In fact, the press release just last week announcing All That Philly Jazz beta app, I got SlideShare does really good analytics, so I got this message from them that my press release was hot on Twitter. Not trending on Twitter, but of the documents uploaded to SlideShare, it was hot. So that was kind of hot. My only problem with Prezi is that it's not free, that after the 30 days you have to pay. But so I'm here, as always, to learn.
Good evening. My name is Lamar Kendrick, and I'm a regular attendee. I'm here tonight to gain some insight into how we might go about finishing the production of a video for a community initiative here in Philadelphia. It's focused on building capacity amongst volunteers and workers who work on issues of food security. So we went around the city. We have 2 more communities to visit, one in the northeast and another in the southeast part of the city. And we listened to people, basically talk about what resources they would like to have in order to do what they do in a more efficient and effective way, which is basically get food to hungry people. And we have a significant problem here in Philly, if you don't know that already. So we're producing a video and some other documentation that we'll put online. And I'm hoping to what caught my attention was that I guess you're going to talk about inserting a slide in a video, and that was interesting. We want to do something that sets our video apart.
Hi, I'm Genevieve McPherson. I'm a student and actually working on the same project with Lamar, so I came within this evening to learn more about how to improve the video and how to improve my own personal computer skills and video skills. Does it actually work? Okay. So yeah, I'm just here just to learn as much as I possibly can about this. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Legidal. I'm a freelance web content writer and learning web design. I'm also a content manager for SheTechPhilly.com. And this is my first Net Tuesday event. I've always heard about it. And this one looks really interesting because I haven't used PowerPoint since high school.
My name is Andrew Sather, and as Seth said earlier, I'll be monitoring the Twitter back channel for those of you on Twitter and for those of you out in cyberspace watching live. I have no experience with any of these tools. Like many of those who went through elementary school in the 90s, I was taught the soul-sucking power of PowerPoint when I was in 6th grade. We start them early now. But that's my only experience with presentation software, and I'm interested in hearing more about our other options.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I thought I was hot when I could embed audio, and all of this is beyond me. So I'm very excited about tonight.
I'm Steven. I'm just kind of curious, so I came.
I'm Harold Pugh. I also work here at the AFSC, and I'm just curious to see what kinds of things are going on and new and exciting in the social media world. So this seems like a fairly cutting edge, since nobody seems to have a lot of experience with it out here.
I'm Rita Varley, and I'm volunteering in the library after working there for nearly 30 years. And
I want to learn more about it. I'm surrounded by people that I hope will cover for all my lack of understanding. I hope I'll understand more by the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to let Briana and the panelists introduce themselves, and hand it off to Briana, who'll be moderating tonight. So, go for it.
Hi, I'm Briana Morgan. I work at the Office of HIV Planning, which is a bit of a confusing organization. We are quasi-governmental. We are under the City Health Department, and we are federal grant funded. So part of what I'm going to be talking about is how to do this stuff with little to no money, because we are extremely restricted where I work on what we can spend our funds on. I do at the Office of HIV Planning all of our web stuff. I manage our social media accounts, among many other things. So I'm a bit of a dabbler. I like learning new tools and seeing what's going to fit our needs best. So hopefully that will help some of you.
Great. Hi, my name is Scott Pinkelman. I'm a freelance web developer and designer, and I do work for a lot of small businesses and nonprofits here in Philadelphia. And I also work part-time for the Prometheus Radio Project, where I promote a pre-internet form of communication, and that's radio, and trying to work with community groups to start their own radio stations this fall.
And I'm Steve Lubetkin. On Twitter, I'm known as PodcastSteve. For nearly 9 years now, my company, Professional Podcasts, has been producing audio and video programming for organizations, nonprofits, and for-profits to distribute over the internet. And a good portion of that has been video. And I'm very glad to hear that some of the folks here are very interested in how to integrate slides into their videos. But to set the context for my experience, some people have indicated that they started using PowerPoint in high school or grade school. And when I was in high school and grade school, the leading edge of technology was an overhead projector with a grease pencil. So we have come a long way.
All right. So first, to get us started, I think it's important to recognize that there are a lot of different purposes for using online presentations. For those of you that do a lot of in-person presentations, it can be a great way to share things that you're already doing. Where I work, we have a lot of public meetings, and we get tons of speakers on a variety of topics, and they always come in with their PowerPoint presentations. And people like to be able to access those again later. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is SlideShare. And let me see, I'm actually not plugged in. All right, so SlideShare is great for those of you who are already making things in PowerPoint that want to share them elsewhere. It's really easy to upload. Thank you. Please. Upload, okay, presentations that you're already creating. So I'm going to show you some presentations that we have up on our SlideShare. I don't take personal responsibility for the graphic design or anything on any of them. So some of them are worse than others. I'm not going to call anyone out in particular. But the nice thing about SlideShare is that it's very well optimized for search engines. So this first one is a presentation that one of my coworkers does on social determinants of HIV risk. It's very easy to tag these and embed them wherever you might want to use them. For those of you who are using PowerPoint right now, are you distributing those in any way whatsoever? Hands, if you know, aside from attaching them to an email. Okay, excellent. SlideShare, yeah. So it's very helpful for that type of stuff, and there's also some free analytics that you can get with SlideShare. It's not anything fancy like you would get with the Pro account, but they will send you a weekly performance update for how your uploads are doing. So through that, I know that our SlideShare account where I work has over 5,000 views between our presentations. Our more popular ones are the things that have to do with healthcare reform. A lot of what we do where I work is supporting people in learning about the Affordable Care Act and how it's going to impact them and helping providers prepare for that as well. So the nice thing about having something like SlideShare is it's able to get people information in a timely manner. Let's see. All right. Next tool that I'm going to switch over to real quick, and I'm going to bounce back and forth between these things because part of what I want to do is illustrate the benefits of using the different tools for different purposes. The next one is SlideRocket. SlideRocket, I just found out this afternoon when I was looking up pricing information, was recently acquired by ClearSlide, so they're not accepting new signups right now, but they should be again soon. So I'm sorry to be such a tease and show you something that isn't available for signups right now. Also, I did not create this slide. The slide came from the CDC. I'm not a huge fan of blue slides with yellow type on them. But SlideRocket is a presentation tool that I really like for using for in-person presentations that I'm going to convert to be online presentations. You're able to, with the pro accounts, add audio for every slide so you can turn it into more of a webinar type thing. So this is really fantastic for that purpose, as opposed to SlideShare, which is more only sharing slides from presentations that have been done before. SlideShare, I would, if I were designing something specifically for SlideShare, I would include a lot more bullet points and information because people aren't really going to have a context for your SlideShare stuff aside from that. And the SlideRocket is fantastic for using for in-person presentations. And then Prezi, I have mixed feelings about Prezi, as I was just saying to these guys up here. One of the problems that I see with Prezi, and I'm sure that everyone that's seen Prezi in an in-person presentation has had this experience, is that it's really easy to make people incredibly dizzy, which is especially terrible if you have motion sickness. So I really like Prezi for illustrating relationships between different relationships between concepts. This is one that we have embedded on our website at my office. And I'm going to go through it a little bit. I apologize. When I designed this, it was with the intention of somebody looking at it on their computer screen. So it'd be much smaller and much less likely to make you nauseous. But I want you to kind of understand what I mean when I talk about illustrating relationships between things. So let's like I said, it's designed for a computer screen. And also designed to not have any audio to go along with it. So this section is designed basically to give people a concept of what the total population of people living with HIV and AIDS in our area is and where they live. This group is Philadelphia. This is the suburban Pennsylvania counties, and then we have New Jersey. So it's a very helpful way for illustrating the relationship between the people who are living with the disease, how many people there are, where they are, and we're able to illustrate that in a way that we wouldn't be able to with a linear slide program like SlideRocket or SlideShare. The other nice thing about Prezi is that you can use it for free for a limited amount of space. And with all three of these tools, it's relatively inexpensive to upgrade. When I say relatively inexpensive, I'm talking like $150 a year for the pro accounts. There's an even fancier account for, I think, either Prezi or SlideShare that runs about $300 a year. And SlideShare has nonprofit pricing. So that's an overview of my three. Do you guys want to talk about theirs for now?
I'll go. I guess I should plug this in. I wanted to talk about an alternative to Prezi that's based on HTML and CSS. Does anybody here know HTML or CSS? Play around with that. So it's called impress.js, and in particular it uses, sorry, give me a second. Let me get my screen set. It uses CSS transitions in the HTML5 canvas element to kind of recreate all of that work that Prezi does, that Prezi uses Flash for. That's it. Oh, perfect. So I learned this, and that is my presentation. Let me just revert here.
3D and motion. That's beautiful.
There. Okay. Great. So this is totally open source. It's something that's free to download the code. There's also a graphical interface for it that I'll move on to, but unlike Prezi, it's totally free, and it's also not proprietary, and it's not built on Flash. So what it does, it just spits out an HTML file with a little bit of JavaScript and CSS, and that's your presentation. You don't need Flash to view it. You can view it on mobile devices straight in the browser, and it really strives towards kind of the open web, where if you have a good web browser and you can get there, then you can see the same content no matter what your operating system or device is. So this is the example that was made by the people that made Impress. So, and it does have some over-the-top animations just to show off. So be warned. So a lot of the same kind of zooming and reaching for that little paper bag to puke in it underneath your seat. It's all there, but it's just done using using the same kind of code that just builds a regular website on the internet. And that's that. So so if you know HTML or CSS, let's see where it is. This is basically what it will spit out. What it will spit out for you. Just a basic index file, and then another file in here with everything else you need, any images or CSS, JavaScript. And, it just basically looks like this, each slide. If you care, I won't subject the whole crowd to hard to read HTML up on the screen. That's probably worse than a Prezi presentation. But it's all there. So if you don't know HTML, there's a nice graphical interface for it called Strut, and it's all in your browser, where you'll just go in and kind of edit the slides and decide how you're going to make them relate to one another. So I kind of recommend if you have the time to play around with this and you're looking for something that's not PowerPoint and you're not trying to sign up for it, give it a shot here and see. It's the same way you can go in, position text and images, control your slides, run through it, and then let me find. Then in here, just like Prezi, I assume I actually haven't used it. You can go in and kind of adjust how the slides are going to relate to one another, how much they zoom in or don't, and from there, it creates a little presentation. This is something I just did very quickly before I came here, but all the same stuff. built right into your web browser. Some of the cool things about this, you can just, you know, if you have a website, you can just upload HTML file and CSS there and do it. That way it's something that, you know, everyone can see. It can be kind of built in to your own website, your own branding. If you know CSS, you can incorporate all of the styles, the fonts, and whatever else you use on your website. And it's just there. If it's something you're planning on doing as an in-person presentation, you just export it as a you know, this HTML file that you'll double click on, and just open it in a modern web browser like Firefox or Google Chrome or Safari, and you'll just be able to run through that. And so while if it's something you're interested in, of kind of taking it you know, far to, you know, kind of make your own mini web page, you also can just use Strut here and just try and come up with a slideshow and play around with it. And just offer it as something that's free and something that uses kind of cutting edge technology in web browsers, and a lot of ways in which the world of, you know, developing web pages is moving, and that's HTML5 and CSS, and trying to really recreate these really rich experiences using just HTML and CSS. So I just wanted to share a little bit of how I learned to do it when I made a looper for the Philadelphia Latin American Film Festival this April, and they asked me to do this, and I didn't really know you know, any video editing software, but I did know CSS, so I used that source code from impress.js, and just tried to create something like this that would just kind of talk about the festival, and you know, give a shout out to the sponsors. So this is something that I just exported, or rather just kind of saved as an HTML file, uploaded it to the website, and it's there on the website for everyone to see. So it's nothing too special, but in this case, it enabled me to kind of incorporate the branding, the fonts, and the style of the website and of the festival into this quick little 30-second animation that would play before film screening. So I just kind of offer it up as something out there as you're looking through all of this. It's something that's totally free. The only thing you're going to lose is time. But it's actually, if you check out Strut right here, you'll find that it's actually pretty easy to get in and just kind of in your browser edit something like this. So wanted to share that as like another technology that could be played around with as people try and figure out new ways to go with this. That's it.
Yeah, also I figure I would like demo mine after you guys do
What's
yours.
it?
Well, I figure I would demo mine after you do yours.
You want that?
I'll go after you. Oh, I'd everybody have that overview before I start talking.
So I work on the after effects of, and not to be confused with Adobe because I don't know After Effects very well. The result that you get when you videotape a slide lecture often looks like this. And this is what I really wanted to avoid in the videos that we produced for clients. And that is, I'm sorry, I have something else running in the background there. I apologize. I'll stop her. The problem with this video, as you can see, is, you know, he's standing in the light of the projector. It throws the color balance of the video off. You can't see the speaker. It's hard to read the slides, and on and on and on. So the challenge for you know, videographers is how do you get the slides into the video so that people can see the two things, the speaker and the slides together? Well, you can do it manually. the simplest way, if you don't want to use bells and whistles and a sophisticated program, if you're doing video editing, is to simply take the PowerPoint deck and convert each slide in the deck to a PNG file, which is the portable network graphics file. It's a high-resolution graphic, and then you can manually insert it in the video timeline at the point where the slide comes in the lecture, and you can switch back and forth. How many of you have seen videos where the camera literally goes speaker, slides, back and forth because they only have one camera? Worst case scenario, if you're going to do something like that, get a second camera. They're not that expensive. Put a camera on the screen, and then instead of moving the camera back and forth, switch between the two cameras. So that's a possible solution, but we really wanted something that was a little bit neater and cleaner, and that's when we discovered this program called Presto, which comes from a company now called Red Giant, which acquired the company that made Presto. The original company was Singular Software, and when I bought it, it was a more expensive program. It was $250. They've recently dropped the price. You can get a full version of Presto for $100. I will tell you, it's probably not for the faint-hearted, but if you experiment with it a little bit, you can get some really, really good results. And let me just show you a little bit about how it works. The timeline you're looking at here, and maybe I ought to stand up. Check. Okay, so you're looking at the Sony Vegas editing timeline, and what happens is when you shoot the video, you put one camera on the speaker at all times. You put one camera on the screen where the speaker is showing the slides, and that's not going to appear in the finished video. That's a synchronization track, and you see that down here. It's actually this track right here, which is hidden when you do the finished video. The purpose of that is so that the program knows when the speaker's changing the slides. And what happens then is you put that video in the timeline, and Presto walks you through this. You start with this little window here. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see what's in it. And basically, you tell it which track has the video of the presenter. That's this fellow over here. You tell it which track is the video of the screen, and then you tell it which audio track is the best audio track. Now, in the productions that I do, we use house audio often, so we're recording separately from the cameras. So we have a whole separate set of audio tracks, which we lay in the timeline. You may just be using the microphone on the camera, or you may have a microphone on the speaker that's plugged into the camera somehow, either wirelessly or with a cable. So whatever your audio track is, you choose that. And then you tell Presto which side of the screen is the speaker standing on. They can be on the left or they can be on the right. And what Presto then does is down here in the timeline, Presto creates this mask, this little eggshell that you see here, is sort of like a spotlight for the speaker, and puts them in that little video window. You have the ability to adjust the size of that person in here. You can make them bigger or smaller, depending on your aesthetic preference. And so after you've put all the videos in, you then get the slides. You tell Presto where are these PNG images that you've created from the PowerPoint, and then you click this process key. The process key is really nice because what it does is it takes the audio tracks from each of the videos you've shot, the one of the screen and the one of the speaker, and any other audio you have in the program, and it matches them up and synchronizes everything so that all your audio is synchronized, the people's lips move at the right time. It's nice and neat. And then once that's done, down here you click this process button, which is grayed out right now because it's been finished. You click that button, and Presto goes through the entire timeline. It tracks the face of the speaker, which is really cool because what happens in the end is if the speaker is walking, as many speakers do, it will keep the camera on the speaker. You have to adjust the way you shoot video, if you're doing a video of a speaker who's going to walk, you want to have a wide angle shot of the speaker, because what Presto will do is keyframe the speaker's face, which means it'll mark where the speaker's face is in each frame, so that it zooms in on him or her when it creates that little spotlight effect. So you don't have to have a really tight shot of the speaker. Actually, it's better if you don't. Same thing with the screen. It's better if you pull the camera back when you're recording the screen and get some of the room in, because most cameras adjust the exposure for the overall room light. If you zoom in on the screen, it's going to be too blurry for Presto to pick up the slide changes. And then once all that's done, it will automatically put the slides in this top track here, and it puts in the transitions between slides, which may be a little bit hard to see here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. It puts in these transitions. It can have a crossfade or whatever. And at any time in the timeline, if the speaker goes off slide, let's say they start talking, digressing, or answering a question from the audience, you can actually turn off the slides by using some of the tools in Presto. So it gives you the layout sequence here, and it shows you by time code where each effect is. You see at 2:23, it's showing just the presenter. At 3:21, it goes back to a left side of the screen with the speaker with a slanted screen. But at any time, you can add another effect by just choosing the one you want to add. So if you want to go at this point and turn this into a presenter only, and I click Edit Cursor, and it should, there you go. It just takes the slide away, turns it into a view of the speaker. If I want to change that to a slide only, I can change it to slides only, except when it says I can't. So if I delete that and then say slides only, it'll let me do it. So like that. And then once you're done, you render out the video from whatever editing program you're using. This happens to be Vegas, because I'm a Windows guy. And then you have a fully finished video with the slides inserted, and it just makes it a cleaner, neater, easier to watch kind of presentation, because you have the speaker and the slides on the screen at the same time. Now, we did run into a couple of interesting experiences with trying to combine. This works great with PowerPoint. It works great with Keynote. It works great with most of the static slide or presentation software programs. It's more of a challenge with a program like Prezi. We actually had, and by the way, if you have a PowerPoint slides or Keynote slides from Apple that have animations in them, in order to get those animations to take place in the finished video, you have to actually create individual slides, the images. So if you have a build slide where it has like 3 bullet points that fade onto the screen in sequence, you'd have to make 3 individual slides with one bullet point, 2 bullet points, and 3 bullet points, and then animate them in the video timeline. If you run into the issue that we ran into, and it was with this one. These guys spoke at the Founder Factory Conference, Philly Startup Leaders, 2 years ago, and it's a father-son team, and they used Prezi for their presentations. And what we had to do was actually, because Prezi has no ability to export to a video or to slides, I actually had to do a screen capture in Camtasia and capture the Prezi video separately and then lay that into the timeline. So here's the father and son. See if I have a little sample. Here he is talking with a Prezi. And what we did was we just created this slide timeline the same as we would have with PowerPoint slides, but he's talking about it using the Prezi. And hopefully it will move. I'm pretty sure we made it move. Let me go back a little bit. We had so many sponsors for that thing. Yeah. So it was a little bit of a challenge to get the Prezi to line up with the window that we wanted to put it in. You see, it's not perfect because Prezi is a little bit more open-ended, but we were able to, at least make an effort to get that in there. let's see. So these are some examples from last year's where we did actually insert the slides. These are, you know, where people use relatively static slide presentations, so it works better with those. No, what we do is you put a video camera on the screen, focused on the screen where they're showing the slides. It's recording a video of the screen. All that's for is for synchronization purposes. We then get the actual slide deck, the PowerPoint file or the Keynote file, whatever presentation software they're using. We get that actual file, we open it in the native software, and then we export the individual slides in that deck as high-resolution graphics. It could be JPEGs or PNGs, and then those individual files are what Presto looks for to put into the actual presentation. What you're looking at there is a PowerPoint slide turned into a PNG graphic. So, but that happens. That's a batch process. You do a file save as in PowerPoint and tell it you want to save them as PNGs.
How do you do that with Prezi transitions, which you can't actually?
The only way I know to do it with Prezi is to do, and that wasn't a very good one that I showed you, but to do a screen capture of a Prezi while you're playing through it. Well, you basically what you need to do is you need to write down the timings of when the person giving the talk moved the Prezi, and then try and time your clicks on the Prezi when you're recording it to be close to them, and then you can kind of adjust it a little bit in the video timeline, because you can do some edits and dissolves with the video software. But it's, you know, that's a little bit more complex. What we've done with reasonable success in other cases is to just use the video of the screen when it's a Prezi, because, you know, if we know it's coming, we can adjust the video recording and use that instead. It's, you know, it's not ideal, but it's sufficient. Yeah. Oh, it varies. It depends on the complexity. We can talk afterwards. I didn't come here to sell, but I'm happy to talk. For you, a deal. No, we do discount for nonprofits. You had a question, sir?
You want to make it so that you can, you know, be able to search the keywords in the presentation, so people will go to that presentation.
Sure. I mean, you know, one of the things, and I'm not one of the experts on search engine optimization, but from a video standpoint, videos, just like still images, can support metadata within the file. So we tag the videos with keywords and metadata before we upload them to the video content platforms like YouTube or Vimeo. In addition to that, you know, we encourage clients. I'm not a big fan of an organization promoting a YouTube channel. I'm a fan of using YouTube as a posting platform, but then learning how to embed the videos on your own website and sending people to your own website to watch them. There's a number of good reasons for that. One of them is when you send them to YouTube, you can't be sure what they're going to see as a related video next to what you posted. So it could be something that makes fun of your organization. It could be something that trashes your organization. It could be something a competitor organization has posted. And you want to control the experience. So embedding it in your website and if you're using a content management system like WordPress, using the tagging features, using the SEO plugins to add keywords and metadata there is probably the solution that you'd be looking for. Anyone else? Okay. I will turn it back over to Briana. I'll stop.
So I don't always operate in the most linear fashion, and this is one example of that. So I apologize to you all for talking about something and then, you know, doing a demo 5 minutes or 10 minutes later. But first I'm going to go through the different capabilities that you have on SlideShare. Alright. And as I mentioned before, I think, I use the free version of SlideShare. So this is going to be more limited in analytics than the paid version would be. The nice thing about SlideShare is you get to upload your existing PowerPoint presentation. So for those of you that are incredibly comfortable with PowerPoint or more comfortable with PowerPoint than other things, you still get to create your presentations in PowerPoint and then upload them using this handy dandy little upload button. It's very simple. Then once they're up, they're going to feed into your uploads in your account, where you'll get to see how many views, how many likes, how many comments, and how many downloads you've had on each of them. As I mentioned, that is the free version. This is one of our more popular presentations. You can also change your privacy settings. So if you have something that you want to keep in-house, you're able to do that on SlideShare. So you can, circulate something amongst your staff if you don't want it up for everyone to see. But as I mentioned earlier, SlideShare is really, really fantastic for search engine optimization purposes. So there isn't a whole lot to do in SlideShare aside from adding audio and video. You're not going to be designing presentations in SlideShare so much, as opposed to something like SlideRocket. This is much more like PowerPoint than something like Prezi is. And it gives you very comprehensive analytics as well with the Pro version. You get to see how long people are looking at things for. A little bit creepy the extent to which you can find out where people were when they looked at your presentation. Like the city of Philadelphia and various company names. And then when you're actually editing the presentation itself, which we'll get to in just a second, first of all, it has the capability to insert forms and polls, which is really nice if you are into that kind of thing. There are all kinds of plugins that you can download. And then looking at the actual slide composition, I'll do one with text. So you have a lot of different font options, which is really nice if you like design stuff. And you get all the effects and the different transitions that you'll get in something like PowerPoint. You can also embed video in this, much like you can with SlideShare. It's not anywhere near the kind of thing that you're going to get with Presto. But if you have some existing video that you want to incorporate into your presentation, as opposed to having a video of a presentation that you want to show along with slides, you can use either SlideRocket or SlideShare for that. And then Prezi over here. And this is what Prezi looks like when you're working in it. So if you are more accustomed to the linear slide format, I would definitely look at something like SlideRocket or ClearSlide first. ClearSlide, again, is the company that just acquired SlideRocket. And with Prezi, you're arranging things on a canvas and then establishing paths through that canvas. So I'm not going to zoom around too much on you guys. But as I mentioned earlier, great for showing relationships. So for example, this group that I was talking about in this Prezi has a series of committees, and so you can see how they're all linked together through something like there. And then to establish a path, you just hit edit path and click around. I mean, this is making me dizzy just to think about it right now. But if it's just on a computer, it's very helpful for that. They also have a number of themes and templates that you can use, so it's something that can be really fun to play around with. You're also able to insert YouTube videos and background music. You're only able to do YouTube video, though. On Prezi, you're able to upload any video. SlideRocket and SlideShare, you are stuck with YouTube videos. One of the problems with Prezi is that it doesn't export into a normal video format. So if you have a Prezi that you want to share with people, you are able to download it as its own like executable file, but you're not able to directly upload it to YouTube or anything along those lines. If you want to upload it to YouTube, you can do it in a roundabout way using screen capture software, but that's about it. So yeah.
So which of these formats is best for inserting into a video?
For inserting into a video.
A slide, for instance, a slide presentation. Is it Presto?
Tell me a little bit more about the video. What's in the video besides the slides?
Interviews of individuals. There are interviews of people, 5 maybe.
And what's on the slides?
I'm thinking that perhaps we could create some bullet points. We could share.
What I would probably do there is it's probably not a Presto kind of a project, because Presto is really aimed at the overall concept of a speaker delivering a talk using slides. So if you want to create bullet points to illustrate or highlight messages being delivered by people in an interview context, I would probably use a video graphic generator in the editing program and put the slide and float the bullet points on the screen next to the person's head.
Could you say that once again?
Sure. I would probably not use a slide out of PowerPoint for that purpose in a video. What I would probably do is, if the person, let's say the person is talking and they say that, the 3 most important things this organization does are, and you want to show those 3 most important things on the screen, you would use the titling capabilities of the video software and create those titles, those 3 bullet points right in the editing software, where you could then position them and size them so that they'd be floating in space next to the head of the person. I can show you an example of what that would look like. Bear with me 1 second. One of our clients is a sales culture expert. He's local to Philadelphia. You may have met him somewhere. He gets around the whole community. His name is Todd Cohen. And so, what we've done for Todd is a video for his website where...
Hello, my name is Todd Cohen. I'm a...
So you see what we're doing? We're floating alongside his head. We're floating the messages. We don't have a PowerPoint slide there. We've actually just used the titling capability within the software to put the information on the screen. I'm sorry?
You planned the...
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, you planned it when you were filming...
Correct. Yeah, and that's, one of the things they teach you in photography and videography is the rule of thirds. How many of you have heard of that? Basically, good. That's good. A lot of hands went up. You don't put the person dead center or the subject, whatever the subject is, you put them in either the right-hand third or the left-hand third or the top third or the bottom third to create interest in compositional style. So it works very naturally with high-definition video, which is a 16:9 ratio in terms of size. And you put the person a little off-center and you have space for your titles. So does that help?
Very much.
Great. Sure. He looks like you. You should see. We were out on a video shoot last week with one of Todd's clients who also looks like us. It was triplets separated at birth. There was no hair in the room at all, which is overrated hair. But anyway, I'm sorry. Back to you.
No. Okay.
Yeah. You want to?
Well, yeah, sure.
I'm stylizing the shadowing of the text.
Say that again.
How did you do the stylizing of the shadowing?
Oh, that's really just a function of the editing software. Within, I don't know what do you use for editing, because I don't know Final Cut very well. I don't know it at all, to be honest with you. But let me.
Is it found in After Effects?
I'm sorry?
Was it found in the effects?
You can use a program like After Effects to create that, but in most of the decent editing programs, I believe Final Cut should have it. I know for a fact that Vegas has it. In the pro version of Sony Vegas, there's a titling function that lets you choose the typeface, choose whether you have italic or bold or sizes and all of that stuff. And one of the things you can do is add a shadow. You can add a shadow, and you can adjust the size of the shadow if you want really long shadows, where you want the shadow to fall. There's all kinds of flexibility for that. I try to make it very subtle. You don't want to overdo it. Right. It's like, when we first got fonts in word processing, and everybody started producing one-page memos with 12 fonts in them because we could. That's not great design, as we learned. And so, overdoing it in video is the same thing.
I have a Twitter question, or maybe even a comment, if you'll have it, which is somebody tweeted and asked if anybody uses a tool called Keynote Tweet, and I just read a project description about it, basically, and if the presenters have experience with it, we'd love to hear it. But it looks like basically it allows you to embed pre-planned tweets into a slide deck, so that while you're giving the presentation, it automatically tweets comments that you have made per slide. So unfortunately, it only works with Keynote, which is an Apple product, and it doesn't have PowerPoint integration, which is sad. I think it's actually kind of a cool tool, but it basically would enable a presenter to participate on a Twitter back channel without actually having to have a computer in front of them, like our three presenters are doing with Twitter at the moment. And if you guys had used and known about Keynote Tweet, you guys have been even more involved than you are now in the Twitter back channel. So if you have any comments about that or experience with that, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I am sadly in the world of PCs right now, so I don't have any experience, but it sounds really entertaining. And also dangerous.
The only thing about those kind of programs, from my perspective, is like you have to pre-plan it, so it's not necessarily as interactive. It's really hard to predict what you want to say that's going to sound spontaneous. It's going to sound sort of canned. So, it's probably a good idea. I know that I do some presentation skills training, and I know that the people we train are really unnerved by the thought of going to a conference and having the Twitter stream of reactions to their presentation live on the screen while they're talking. So, that's just one more layer of terror for them.
I guess you run into the danger if you really don't want to post a particular tweet based upon the experience of the last 10 seconds. You really can't pull the plug on it very easily.
And companies have gotten in trouble for not turning off the auto tweeting when there's some kind of a crisis that affects their organization. So you've got to be real careful with that stuff.
Yeah, one thing with SlideRocket, and I'd imagine the same thing is going to be available in ClearSlide once that's up and available for all the SlideRocket users, is you are able to insert Twitter feeds into your slides, which is not the same thing as the Keynote tweeting business. But that way, if you have a hashtag for a presentation that you're giving, you're able to see that as it's happening. So that's kind of snazzy. So one of the other things that's important to think about with your slide or with your presentations that you're making online is how you're going to share them. The nice thing about something like SlideShare is you're easily able to tweet embedded presentations. And the other nice thing, aside from that you're not using a PowerPoint file, about doing an online social presentation is that you're able to include it with other content. So, for example, I gave this presentation recently on using social media for HIV providers. Before I was able to finish getting the audio up and turn it into a webinar, I was able to write a blog post about the presentation and talk about the slides and the resources that I mentioned. So that's one of the really nice things that I like about doing the social presentations. it's also a lot easier for people to share them with others. And the embed feature on our website is really nice as well. SlideRocket is set up so that you can have it email you, even the free version, anytime your presentation is viewed. So if you have a document that you're really trying to get out there, then that way you know who is actually clicking on it to look at it. And it's also really nice for making a downloadable PDF.
There's another tool we haven't even mentioned. It's a little bit old, and I don't know how many of you would be interested in something like this. It's called Producer for PowerPoint. Did anybody ever play with that? It's an add-on program that Microsoft made available. It only goes up to PowerPoint 2003. I think some of the functionality may exist in the later versions of PowerPoint. I'm not entirely sure. But it's basically a program that lets you turn a PowerPoint presentation into a video. So, but it's just the slides. It's the slides, and you can plug a microphone in and do audio. If you want to get more sophisticated, it doesn't have those kind of tools. It's basically, plug in a microphone, hit record, and talk through your slides, and create a shareable video that way. But it seems to still be available on Microsoft's download page if you want to give it a try.
Well, when you can save as now to video formats in
From PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
I don't know if that's different from.
I've found those tools tend to be a little bit more limited. They may serve a specific purpose for a particular presentation, but they don't give you the ability to get in there and edit.
Really, that's true. Yeah.
Fine tune it.
All right, does anybody have any questions about SlideShare, SlideRocket, or Prezi?
You pick one.
I have a video from a conference that happened recently, and I have slides, PowerPoints mostly, from the same conference. And I'm looking at how to best put them up on the web page so they're accessible. And looking at this, it looks like SlideShare actually would be a really good option. Have you shown us your own web page up here, or just examples of what SlideShare looks like? Because I'm interested to see how video plus PowerPoints look when they're set up on a web page.
At my organization, we do very, very little with video because we're dealing directly with people living with HIV and AIDS, and we can't just throw video of people up. There are severe confidentiality laws in place in the state of Pennsylvania, so my experience with video is very limited. Most of our SlideShare distribution is done through our email newsletter and our blog, as well as our Facebook and Twitter pages. So, I don't know. Do you have anything to say about the video?
How long are the videos?
They vary from maybe about 20 minutes to an hour, and there's some where there's a panel series where there's 7
And the panel is each using slides?
Yes.
Yeah. Somewhere along the way, we lost the concept of what a panel is supposed to be, which is like people interacting with each other, not 7 people getting up and each giving a slide presentation like a keynote, which is what they end up being, right? For the people watching it, the end user experience, is my opinion, anything we can do to make it easier for the person to have a good end user experience is a better way to go. And asking people to click on a video and watch the video while leafing through a separate slide deck is not, in my mind, the best way to deliver the content. I would like to see those slides embedded in the video in some way. It can be done manually. It's a little bit more tedious, but it can be done. If you plan for it ahead of time and use a tool like Presto, then you get a really nice finished product that anybody can watch, and you don't have to worry about where to put it. You don't need, does it go on SlideShare? Does it go on YouTube? It's going to be portable. So, my feeling would be to try to get them embedded. Call me.
All right, so we have an intern working for us who's going to be working on some presentations, and we kind of said, make it cool. We don't really care what you use or what format you use, but we want to incorporate some videos, and we'd like to do a few different things. And he said you can't incorporate video on Prezi. Fact or BS?
You can incorporate YouTube video in Prezi. But it depends on what you're trying to do with it, right? So with Prezi, if you have a presentation and you want to add a short video to emphasize a point at, somewhere along the path, then it's great for that kind of thing. But Prezi isn't really a platform that you want to use for inserting a 20-minute video.
So, like from a private YouTube channel, could you do a video, or it has to be like a public YouTube channel that you pull a clip from?
You have to use a YouTube URL. So, I'm not sure how the privacy works.
The user who's accessing Prezi would have the same permissions for the user. Right.
Can I ask, who are these presentations going to be delivered by?
Like different people on the sales team and marketing team.
And just from a demographic standpoint, what's the age range of the people who are going to be delivering them? Are they younger or older?
Probably older.
Okay. Excuse me. The reason I ask is because older people in an organization tend to be less comfortable with a lot of those bells and whistles. And if you want the presentation to go more smoothly, the less cool it is, the more comfortable they're going to be delivering it. In my experience with PowerPoint, people have tried to embed video in PowerPoint. And I know that Microsoft says you can, and I know when you see Ballmer give a presentation, it works flawlessly. I've never encountered in 30 years in corporate PR a PowerPoint presentation that had video embedded in it that worked properly. And I never embed video in PowerPoint. I load them separately in the Windows Media Player and tab over to it when it's time to show the video. So, I'm not a big fan of embedding it because anything that can go wrong is going to go wrong when it's the president of the organization who's delivering the program, because none of them rehearse. Okay? How many of you have people that you produce for higher up the food chain, higher up the pay grade, who rehearse their presentations before they do it? Chances are you hand it to them 10 minutes before they give it, right? Yeah.
Possible observation and a question about, I'm very impressed with impress.js. The first, correct me if I'm wrong, but if your distribution for your presentation is SlideShare, SlideShare uploads PDFs, multi-page PDFs, which means Word can be a slide level, or InDesign, anything that spits out multi-page PDFs. Compatibility, there's the question of fonts. Give it a try. You can never go too wrong with trying it. That's my personal experience with SlideShare. It saved me at the last minute. Impress.js, I'm imagining, since I've got text, HTML text as slides moving around, if I could figure out a way of embedding that as either a page or a post in WordPress, I've got text that's got SEO and yet an interesting presentation.
Yeah, there's an interesting example when I was researching this. There's of somebody who did an image slider. That's generally done with JavaScript and sliding through images on the homepage of websites. Built that on impress.js and used the 3D transforms to do an all HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'll tweet it to the stream. I'll have to look it up. But that's an interesting example of people starting to push it into web pages.
Did you have a second?
I have a question of my own, and I apologize if you've already answered it. Sometimes I only half listen when I'm tweeting, and I'll direct it towards you with impress.js. It just hit me as I was thinking about using it. I'm also very impressed with it. But one thing that crossed my mind was the possibility that it might introduce maybe a new step that we have to take, or a step that maybe we should be taking with any presentation that we don't, and that is that because it's browser-based, I almost think that I need to make sure when I give a presentation elsewhere, if it's not my own machine, that the browser that I'm using is going to support the technologies that it requires. And while that's something that you think we ought to do for everything, it's the sort of thing where if you have a PowerPoint, you just assume, maybe wrongly, maybe incorrectly, but you often just assume that I can pop that PowerPoint on any machine and it'll just go. Where in Impress.js, I might be a little more concerned that, gosh, Firefox version 22 came out last week. It is that, are there going to be any hitches? Is there something small that, has now been deprecated in JavaScript that I, no longer, where my presentation no longer works quite the same way? And I'm wondering if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, that was part of my consideration when I, built this presentation for a client, and I was thinking about finding some way of kind of making a movie file of doing it at first, but then I realized I don't really work in that, and I wouldn't know, and I would be encountering those problems. But the main technical stuff with Impress.js is HTML5 and then CSS transitions, which are actually what do these switches between. And so I don't have in front of me like the kind of browser specifications, but I felt confident to tell my client a reasonably up to date Safari, Firefox, or Chrome is going to be able to handle that. And there's a kind of a notice built into the Impress.js source code that's going to say, hey, the browser you're using isn't it's going to identify the browser if it's not recent enough to handle it and tell you to get a different browser.
I was actually just going to quickly add something. What was your name again? I apologize. Rick. The fact that you were saying that it's searchable, I'm going to take a guess here because I understand the battle. Flash, which is the other product, is not searchable, so there's no doubt that's the reason probably why Impress popped up, because the open community likes the idea that you're able to put something out on the web which internally it can look. When you make a Flash file, you can't look, you can have a word in there that says Harry and you can search it all you want, you're never going to see it unless you add metadata. So that's probably why, if you chase down anyone who probably wrote Impress, that was probably part of the thinking.
And I can see Impress on this thing.
Well, that's only because that's a side effect. That's just because they're using HTML5 and all the new stuff. But that's just to point that out, that was probably part of the reason for Impress. Even though I don't know that, I will make a bet on it, because that's one of the reasons why a lot of tech people dislike Flash, because it's encapsulated and absolutely you can't search it. There's nothing inside that you can search, and that's why it's disliked in the new tech world.
Yeah, Presto is in Flash.
Well, anything that's Flash. Flash is not. If it produces a Flash file, it's not searchable internal.
Yeah, someone said Prezi is Flash.
Yeah, Prezi.
Right.
I got a quick question about Strut.
Mm-hmm.
Is it completely what you see is what you get? Or is there coding that goes along with it that you can do on the back end?
You can do.
Do you want to show some?
Yeah, let me just try and. Because your preview is actually going to be, the end result is an HTML file and then a folder with CSS and JavaScript. So, So yeah, when just to add a really quick example, you can actually run the presentation, and that's going to open it up as that HTML file. So in terms of how it looks on here, I haven't actually looked at how this works, but in my experience of doing I've only done 1.5 presentations on Strut, and neither one was very good. It was mostly just playing around with it, but it's been exactly the same, and you have that chance to kind of, as you test it out and test out your transitions, it's gonna just make that HTML file full screen, and you can run through it, and then when you feel like you have it at a point that you want, you can just download that file, and then that's what you carry around or upload or whatever.
Okay, so and if you want to go to the next slide or whatever you call it, you just insert another text box, and you don't have to do any of the coding.
No, yeah, it's all no code at all. Just over here, you add a new text box, and then kind of similar to Prezi, you can go on this overview page and adjust how you want it to be spatially, and also if you want it to, zoom and be flipped upside down and totally illegible. It's right there. So, and then so this is on the server, like a preview of that HTML file. You'll download. Thank you.
Quick question about Impress. And I understand you've only just begun to work with it, but do you think you can frame it so that the presentation is embedded on a web page?
Yeah, I did find that example. To make it more complicated, it's with the jQuery port of impress.js. This is an example of, like I mentioned, the slideshow, and this is all built with this jQuery port of impress.js, and that could be, obviously, however large or small, embedded within your website.
All scales to whatever size window.
I think by default within the source code, it's going to be full screen, and to make it kind of scale into your page, following this tutorial would be a good example, but it's certainly possible. But I think that just kind of default, get it off the ground. It's just do it in full screen.
I just wanted to clarify for Impress whether it's possible to write the code and use the Strut interface at the same time so you can move back between the two, or is that not possible?
I know if you made it in Strut and then exported it, that's saving it. I know you could go, Strut will export it as HTML. And then you could get in there and change it. I don't know if you're able to upload that back up and have Strut read the changes that you made, because I think the export format's JSON.
So you're saying you can export, but you're not sure whether you can import HTML code into the Strut interface? Yeah. Okay.
I had two questions. One has to do with, I'm trying to recollect when I've watched TED Talks, and I'm wondering how they seem less sophisticated than what you were showing with some of the Red Presto stuff. It looks like they have harder transitions when they actually show the slides, or they're showing the speaker with the screen behind them, but that just seems to be a direct video shot. I'm wondering if you know how the TED Talks are done, because they're obviously effective.
Yeah, I think the TED Talks are done with multiple broadcast quality cameras. They spend a lot of money on them. They also, the speakers rehearse extensively, and they're vetted very extensively before they get to give a TED Talk. So they're very well they're very comfortable working with the presentations. Also, pay attention to the kind of presentations that people use for a TED Talk. There's very, very few words on their slides. Their slides are designed as a supplement to support the words that they're speaking with images. And that is actually considered, the gold standard of how to create a presentation. The problem with PowerPoint or any of these others is we've gotten into the habit that it's our note cards for a presentation. So we put all the notes on it in bullet point form, and then we read them to people. And if you talk to the audience afterwards, nobody wants you to read it to them. They would rather you just handed them the deck and let them go home an hour early. So, if you're going to do a presentation, the slides themselves should probably not be useful to the audience without your talk. So, from that standpoint, I think that's why they don't dwell too much on showing the slides. They can do it with the TV camera.
The second question I wanted to ask is about the relative merits of video and slide presentations as put on websites. Briana mentioned that for HIV, AIDS, the confidentiality issues, they don't do much video. But I'm wondering about, for anyone here, about the effectiveness, if you're having a website or if you're going to a website, of being able to present presentations that people can kind of click their way through or just click on and have it present itself versus video itself. So many places have video, very few places have presentations.
Many people, many organizations are producing a lot of great content, a lot of educational programming. Enormous amount of staff energy goes into preparing the materials, organizing the event, registering people to attend the event, going to the room, setting up for the event, and very often, once the event's over, all of that content, all of that firepower is gone. It's not captured. It's not of benefit to people who couldn't be there. And so, from my perspective, a video archive of a presentation, and with respect to the confidentiality, obviously people who have to be protected with confidentiality wouldn't apply, but if you were to have a conference that involved leading physicians or researchers in the HIV community, they're certainly not confidential. They could be recorded and that information shared through a website with other viewers who might be interested. And there's nothing better than an audience that's passionately interested in the content. I've been asked a lot, how long should a podcast be? And the answer, frankly, is as long as it needs to be. We've done audio podcasts of panel discussions involving new treatment modalities for ovarian cancer. We had a panel of 5 speakers. One was a doctor who specialized in gynecological oncology. One was a nurse who did family risk assessments based on genetic profiling. And 3 of the panelists were ovarian cancer survivors. The panel went on for 2.5 hours. We produced an audio podcast from that. No slides, no video, no nothing. And we've had over 3,000 downloads. Why? Because people, God forbid anyone in this room needs it, but if you need information about ovarian cancer, you don't really care how long the program was. If it's a 2-hour program, you're going to download it. If you need information about AIDS treatment or HIV, you're going to be grateful for anything that's made available to you. And so it seems to me that it's a great way to archive the content and make it available to a larger audience.
Yeah. And also, just because you can't do video too, I think using audio along with slides is a really great option, especially with things like SlideRocket, and I know you can upload audio for SlideShare as well. That way you have the audio to go along with your slides. If any of you are in healthcare right at this particular moment in time, you probably know there are about 9,000 webinars a week related to health reform. And that's the exciting new thing that everyone's doing, or at least they think it's exciting until you sit on 5 of them a week. But it's really nice if you're doing a presentation in person to go back, record the audio for a presentation that you already know how to do, split it up between the slides, and have it available both for people who are there and people who couldn't make it.
So with Presto, setting aside the complexities, just going with a straight sort of PowerPoint, if you have
for example, we have a monthly seminar for volunteers, right? Have, you know, a lot to do at work. How practical is it really to do these using Presto? Is it
Do you have anybody who does video for you now?
No, we don't. But I mean, I can take video.
Okay.
I'm not intimidated by the video. I'm intimidated by.
Do you have the editing tools? Because the problem in terms of complexity is it's not a tool that's going to work outside of a reasonably sophisticated video editing timeline. It works with Vegas. It works with, I believe there's a version that works with Final Cut. I don't think they have versions that work with, for example, iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, which are the low-end consumer programs. So, you know, you're looking at, you know, a gap between, I'm not afraid to shoot video and getting to the editing suite, which is where the challenge is for most people trying to do this stuff.
Okay, but given the fact I'm comfortable with video and I'm comfortable with advanced video,
okay,
is Presto just sort of pop it in there and let her rip?
It'll take you a couple of tries to get really comfortable with it, but I've found that if you do certain things like I said before, you know, the camera on the screen, you don't zoom in so that the screen fills the whole viewfinder. You get the screen and a good portion of the room so that the light adjusts properly. And then when you go into the video timeline and you use that for your synchronization track, you crop it there. And you crop it down to the screen itself, and Presto does the rest of the work. It looks at the slides, it sees where the transitions are between slides, and it lays them in a timeline, and then you can adjust if it needs any adjustments. It'll also tell you if it can't figure out where a slide goes. It'll say, there are 3 slides we couldn't put on the timeline, and you can go in and look at it. The nice thing about it is if it totally screws up and it can't synchronize the slides, you can eyeball it. You've got a synchronization track that shows you where the slide changes were, and you can drop them in fairly quickly. So, you know, I'd encourage you to give it a shot.
Right, thank you.
Quick one. For just to Steve's point about slides when you're giving a presentation not being filled with the text that you're actually reading. Just one hint that I've heard over the years is to have, if you're doing an in-person presentation, is to have a sheet with not with a printout of your slides, but with the notes that you want your audience to take home with them, not the funny cartoon characters
right.
on your slides.
That's exactly what I do when I give presentations and people come up to me and ask for my slides. I give them a link where they can get a white paper that describes the content of the presentation rather than the slides, which are going to be meaningless without the context.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, well, I think we're done then. I want to thank Briana, Scott, and Steve for preparing this.